Hi, folks. This is Louis Herfin, the original Peter Abernathy. Hell is empty and all the devils are here on the Shout on TV Westworld podcast with Roger, Gene, and Big D.
Welcome back to Shout on TV Westworld, the unofficial podcast companion piece to the hit HBO series Westworld. I'm one of your hosts, Ash, and alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And this is our Instacast episode where we look back on this week's episode of Westworld and provide our immediate reactions to the episode for this week. This week's episode was titled Anees Folles. So, Big D, what'd you think?
This was the first time. Let me roll this back a little bit. The way I used to judge the episodes was how badly did I not want to record the Instacast and actually go back and watch the episode again. Of this season, this was the first time that I want to go back and rewatch it right away.
I have to say I am right there with you. I love this because I love sometimes when we're so simpatico, like we haven't even talked about it, because I'm the same way. I really judge episodes as like, oh Jesus, what the fuck am I going to say when we get on there? Like, because we literally record these guys like 10 minutes after these episodes end, and we kind of text back and forth, and it's like, oh, because we don't want to ever sound negative. But this is the first one for this season where I was pretty jacked up to get on here and talk with you about it.
Totally agree. And we also try to come up with topics. What are we going to look at for the deep dive? And when I have to sit there and be like, oh, okay, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to go back and look at what William has done in the past. And try. Here, there's multiple things I don't want to go back on. And I think the show went back to what its strongest points were. And I think going forward, I think it sets us up for a good second half of the season. And what I kind of want to do is to go over some of the things I liked and some of the things I didn't like. Overall, I thought it was a great episode. I mean, the thing that I'm going to say that I didn't like is it's we've seen it before. As you're watching it, if you're a fan of sci-fi or just modern TV, you're going to see things. You're going to see devs. You're going to see Terminator 2. You're going to see Doctor Strange. You're going to see Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan. You're going to see these things that necessarily aren't original. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because I don't think anything anymore is original. But at least we're not guessing what we're seeing.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that it's hard now because there's this fine line, and we talk about this a lot on Chat the Movies. There's this fine line between an homage and being derivative of something. And Westworld, it plays this game sometimes where sometimes it really is derivative of things that has come before. But I think, your Doctor Strange reference clearly, seeing all the possibilities that ever was, and all of a sudden Iron Man's going to come out and save everybody in Westworld. Spoiler alert. But, that I don't think necessarily is derivative as much as it is we just can't get it out of our heads because it's something that has become so synonymous with sci-fi and action and pop culture.
I mean, the little girl has to be Frankie. That's Sarah Connor. Why don't they just call her Frankie? Is there a chance that this is something else? I'm hoping that it's straightforward, that yes, we're seeing a few different timelines. They're kind of going back to the OG fans, a little fan service there, but we're seeing kind of where we're going. Am I wrong in that?
No, I mean, here's the deal. The opening of this episode, right? Like, this is the kind of Westworld that I want. It's what I'm looking for in my Westworld show. You've got your intrigue. For me, this is the right kind of fan service where you bring back a character like we do in the opening here, where he's not coming back into the entire series. We know that. They get that out of the way really quickly. He's not a character that's returned. He's only in this one interlude. And I think that works. And what else do they give us? They give us memories to wade through. And come on, that line that Stubbs gives, I see your time in robot heaven has made you no less elliptical. Like, that's the kind of writing that I want from my Westworld, because it makes me even excited to see Stubbs back. And if you listen to our season 3 coverage, I was not a huge Stubbs fan, but I was excited to see him here. And we're also getting some new characters. We get a desert diner. We get this maze meetup. And there's just so much juicy stuff for us to dig our teeth into. And so for me, like we've already said, I'm looking forward to a rewatch of this episode. I'm here for season 4 if this is like it is. And I know you already gave your what you didn't like. The only thing that I'm still not really on board for is the wasting of time. Like the whole Hector parallel, I get it. It's fine, but it's a little on the nose. It's a little in our face. And like, we just don't have time for it, right? If they can get rid of that and give us more Bernard, I'm in.
Oh, I don't know. I was a little worried. I could hear Gene Lyons' head exploding as we were walking down the main street, and we were getting all of the discount or bootleg Westworld, where they just copied the old plot and just threw in the new characters. But I found myself just loving the idea that this is now like less Disney and more like Six Flags. This is a different type of clientele. Everyone's coming in here. It seems like, yeah, where's the secret level? The fact that Delos would turn the massacre into a new attraction, I found it was a little tongue in cheek. I let him have the pass. And when we get that discount Wyatt, I laughed audibly. I loved it.
I don't know. I mean, Gene was messaging, and my favorite thing he said is he's over the regurgitated Sweetwater shit. And I'm kind of with him on that. I don't know. I just think we got to remember there's only 8 episodes. This is the 3rd out of only 8 episodes. We just got too much to do. But I do like your Six Flags Disney World comparison, because this definitely is a much more low budget park than we've seen before.
Yeah, and if anybody out there has seen the new Thor, Love and Thunder, we get another rehash of that. A couple Thor movies ago, we got Matt Damon playing Loki, and we got like the discount stage performance within Thor. That's what I felt like this version of Westworld was, and it was just so ridiculous. I really liked it. And I think what I'm also enjoying is that it seems like the showrunners, they're trying to do a little bit of both. They're giving us the stuff for the old fans, the fan favorites. We're getting to some answers for things. They're not making us wait multiple episodes. I just couldn't believe that, hey, he saw Frankie and he got into the room. In the past, we would have cut away to another storyline. We would have had to wait. They would have tried to hack into the room. We're getting to points quickly. Yes, we're getting some of the stuff that Gene hates regurgitated. But for me, it seems a little bit straightforward. We can see where we're going. It's a shorter season of 8 episodes. 3 in now. I think it's a pretty clear path where it's going.
I hope so, but I hope there's enough of a mystery. And that's what I've been worried about personally this season, is that there wouldn't be enough mystery for those of us like myself that genuinely really love that part of Westworld. And I'm excited to say that after this one, it looks like they're going to balance that out some, that they're going to give us some of that mystery to dig into, that they're going to give us, a little bit of just like meat to gnaw on here. And it looks like it's all going to come from Christina, because, we've talked about, there's obviously the mystery of the metaverse and where she is. And then there's also now Bernard coming back. And for me, for the deep dive, this is going to be where I spend like all my time researching tomorrow. Don't tell my bosses that I'm doing this at work, right? Because I'm going to just spend a large swath of my day digging in, because Bernard's visions at the beginning, there is so much there that we clearly need to dig through. And it's a maze of sorts. And I love that it's kind of this juxtaposition with the maze being the symbol and then the maze of his mind. We've already talked about it's very Doctor Strange in terms of like he's seeing all these different scenarios, but I cannot wait to rewatch this and go frame by frame by frame and to kind of look and see what is it that he's seeing. And further, I want to dig into why the Sublime looks the way it does, because it's made very clear that this is the world that like Bernard is creating. So why is he creating the tower? Right? Because we see that here. We see the tower structure. And for me, Bernard has always been one of my favorites. I think that he's a very interesting character. I think his relationship to Arnold is really, really interesting. I think that Jeffrey Wright is such a solid actor. And it's just like how like when Anthony Hopkins as Dr. Ford would come on the screen, you'd feel like this like breath of like acting, like not an actor, but like acting. It's the same with Jeffrey Wright. And I could not be more excited that his chess piece is back on this board. And I really want to see what part he's going to play here.
Ash, for the deep dive for me, I want to go back to one of the things I've done in previous seasons. I want to look at the timelines. We now know Gene's theory was correct. The time passes differently within the Sublime as in the real world. So the Sublime has advanced significantly. And we need to find out and see what we can tell from on-screen facts, roughly how far and how much time has passed from the ending of last season for Bernard and when he wakes up. That might tell us what's been going on, explain this condemned zone or the contaminated zone, try to see what's happened. I also want to look at Maeve, because Maeve is feeling less superhero to me and more like the old iPhones with like the 30-pin connectors that you just kind of one day, it was the newest, shiniest phone. And before you knew it, there was a lot of limitations. So those are the two things I want to look at. So I'm excited to edit this, get it out, and then get on to tomorrow's deep dive.
Well, I'm sure either you or myself or Gene, because Gene will be back for the deep dive, and we don't know yet what his topics will be, but I'm sure that one of us will also cover the sound because, you know, all of our listeners, you guys have been writing in, and guys, please know we need your help as always. So please make sure to write in at host@shadontv.com. We would love to hear your theories. And I know that we're going to have to start unpacking the sound piece because we've talked about how clearly sound is going to be incredibly important. We've had listeners write in that talk about even from the beginning, you know, just the gramophone that was playing in Sweetwater with Arnold when he was killed or committed suicide by host, let's say. You know, music and sound have been so integral, and we just didn't realize that. And now we've got this big bad sound machine, which for me sounded like a really cheap off-brand of the soundtrack of The Shining. Like whenever they're doing those big sweeping shots, like looking down at the Overlook Hotel. But one of us is going to dig into that as well, because that's clearly going to be crucial for the rest of the season.
Also, Ash, for the first time, a lot of the shows we've complained is when there's no real fear of loss. Characters come back. Are they really dead? There was the first moment, the twinge that I got when I realized, holy shit, all these gung-ho guests could kill Maeve when Maeve gets shot. And there was that split second that I actually cared about a character and thought there was some real danger about what we were seeing on screen. So it was a nice change.
Yeah, and of course we've got the cliffhanger with Caleb. What's happening with him? What's going on with the maggots that they're feeding, and then the flies themselves, and then they've got those pipes with all of the flies that are flying through them. I mean, there's a lot here to unpack in the underbelly of, you know, the off-brand Sweetwater that's here. So we're really excited about it. We hope that you guys write in. We can't wait to hear your theories. And we're really looking forward to recording that deep dive tomorrow. It'll be out on Tuesday. And hopefully we get some answers because it feels like Westworld's picking up, you guys. But that concludes this week's episode of Shot on TV Westworld. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're on Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shot on TV. Our website is shatpod.com/TV. And again, you can email us to get on the Telegraph at host@shotontv.com. Where fine podcasts can be found, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Pandora, Spotify, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. And if you stop by iTunes, please be sure to leave a 5-star review. That helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-hosts, Gene Lyons and Big D Dick Ebert, I'm Ash, and be sure to join us next time for our deep dive into episode 3 of Westworld Season 4.